This is the Module 4 Topic E review. So first it says to solve, draw a rectangular fraction model. So we're going to start with that. So I'm going to draw my model. We always look at the second number first, which says 1/4. So we split that into fourths, and we're going to shade in one of the fourths. Then we look at the second one, which in this case is also 1/4, and we go horizontally. And we shade in 1/4 of the fourth. So just of the shaded section. So now I want to look and I want to see how many pieces are double shaded. There's one piece double shaded, and there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pieces altogether, and I get 1/16. But it also says to write a number sentence. So I know that 1 times 1 is 1. And 4 times 4 is 16, and my two answers match, so that means that I most likely did it correctly. Now I'm going to check the next one. It says Mr. Smith cuts 1/3 of a piece of wood. So we're going to show that. So we're going to take our wood. He cuts 1/3 of a piece of wood. Right here is what he's cut. He uses 1/4 of the piece to make a birdhouse. So we're going to cut this into fourths in the opposite direction. And 1/4 of that piece that he cut. And what fraction does he use to make the birdhouse? We've got this one piece out of a total of 12 pieces, so he uses 1/12 of a piece of wood. In order to check my work, I'm going to say that he did 1/4 of 1/3, and I ended up with 1/12. Next. It says again that we're going to draw a rectangular fraction model. So of means to multiply. We always do the second number first, so we're going to draw our rectangular fraction model. And over here, I'm going to start my sentence because it does say it needs a number sentence, and the word of is not a number sentence. You need the multiplication symbol. So we're going to do 2/5. Here's 1/5, and here's 2/5. And now we're going to go to this number that we have to do, which is 1/4. And it's not just one box, it's 1/4 of anything that was shaded. So this whole section right here, I'm going to actually circle it. This is 1/4. So I'm doing 1/4 of the shaded section, which is right here. And so that tells me I have 2, and there's 20 total boxes. And in my number sentence, I can multiply 1 times 2 is 2, and 4 times 5 is 20. Next question. This one, it's going to be easier to use words to figure this out so we don't make a silly mistake. Be careful not to just multiply everything. In a chocolate box, 1/3 are caramel. So we're going to take our chocolate box and split it into thirds. And this is going to get a big C for caramel. Then it says 1/4 of the rest. So I need to know that this is the rest. So if I am finding 1/4 of the rest is the R's, that's 2/3. So 1/4 of 2/3, that will give me my milk chocolate section. So we're going to go through this and we're going to split this into fourths. And of the rest, this is milk chocolate because that's part of the fourth. And this is milk chocolate because that's part of the fourth. And I end up with 2/12. So I have to pay attention if they're talking about the caramel or the rest. And in this case, it was of the rest. Next, it says to rewrite the expression as a number sentence. with decimal factor. So it has to be decimals this time and solve. So 1/10 becomes 1/10 times 1 and 5/10. But it says that it needs to be decimals, so I need to make sure that it stays as decimals. So I'm going to rewrite this 1 and 5/10 times 1/10. And now I'm just going to multiply. And just like we had learned, we jump 1, we jump 2. So I jump 1, 2, and that's where my decimal is. This time it says to rewrite the answers as fractions, and then write the answer as both a fraction and a decimal, so I have to do both. So this is 14 tenths times 5/10, not 5/10, I apologize, 5 over 1. And when I multiply 14 times 5, some of you might need to do this on the side, so you can leave this on the side so you have it. And I end up with 70 over 10. And 70 over 10, if I want to now write it as a decimal, 70 tenths would be 70, and it has to end in the tens place, so I need a decimal there. So next we have 14 tenths times 5/10, and once again we have 70, but we have 70 hundredths. And 70 hundredths, here's my decimal. My hundredths place is tenths hundredths, so we end with 70 hundredths. And our next one, we still have 14, but this time it's 14 hundredths times 5/10, and that equals 70 over 1,000. And for those of you who aren't sure, we write our decimal. We have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. 70 has to end in the thousands place, so then I have to put a 0 in here. And that's 70 thousandths. Next, this time it says to rewrite each equation as a number sentence with fractions again. And again, it wants the answers as decimals and fractions. So I have 43 tenths. Whoop, I apologize, I'm multiplying, thinking too far ahead. 43 tenths times 15 tenths. So I come on the side over here and I do 43 times 15. And then we add it all up and we end up with 645. So we have 645 over 100. That's my fraction answer, and my decimal answer would be 645 hundredths, because that's the hundredths place. Next, we have 17 tenths times 8 tenths. And when we multiply 17 times 8, we get 136 hundredths. And this decimal is 136 hundredths because it ends in the hundredths place. Next, this says 303 and it ends in the hundredths place. Don't simplify it down to 33. It's 303 hundredths times 54 tenths. So I go on the side and I do 303 times 54. So I end up with 16,362 over 1,000. and then I write that as a decimal, and if you're confused, here's my decimal, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So I'm going to fill it in backwards so I know that I fill everything in that I need, because it has to end in the thousandths place. And the last problem is 33 tenths times 53 hundredths. And again, we're going to go down here on the bottom, and we're going to multiply 33 times 53. And we end up with 1,749 over 1,000. And we have our answer of 1 and 749 thousandths. And that's our review for topic E.